Hello lovers, it's Paul Galloro, and today I want to have a conversation with you about Mercury retrograde. Now I know some of you are either freaking out or scratching your head thinking, what is this guy even talking about? To those that are freaking out, I'm here to share with you the beauty of Mercury retrograde. And for those of you scratching your head, I'm here to just sprinkle a little insight and maybe expand your awareness a little bit as to what this really is. The word retrograde means to go backward. So when we put it with a planet, it means that it appears as though the planet is traveling backward in its orbit. When this happens, whatever the planet represents gets a little wobbly. It gets swept up in this gust of wind, if you will. Imagine this. You're driving down the highway and there is a car up ahead. You don't know what speed it's going at, but you can see that you're starting to get closer to it. So it's obviously traveling slower than you are. There will be a point where you start to overtake the car. The car almost appears as though it's going backward. That's what's happening when a planet is in retrograde. Now, what does it mean for Mercury? Well, like I said, when a planet is in retrograde, all that the planet represents gets swept up into a windstorm, making it a little bit wobbly. And Mercury has dominion over many aspects of our lives, including our mind, intellect, our nervous system, the way we communicate with others. It also has dominion over scheduling, travel, and electronics. So these get wrapped up in this windstorm, and if we're not grounded, anything can happen. Now, Mercury retrograde is not a time to panic, I promise you this. It just means that with the energies that are floating through the space and the way it affects us, it just makes these things a lot more likely if we're not mindful. The key here is, as Mercury represents the mind, we need to slow down, stay grounded, stay centered, and respond to what is happening around us from this place of center. There are three aspects to Mercury retrograde. There's the period where it appears as though Mercury is starting to slow down in its orbit. That's as the planet Earth is coming up towards it. Then there's the period where it looks like Mercury stopped and then started to go backward. Finally, there's the third period where it appears as though Mercury is sort of waking up and starting to slowly move forward again before it gets back into its regular pace and rhythm. And these three periods affect us in different ways. The pre-retrograde period, and this usually lasts about 15 to 18 days, this period is where we have to be the most mindful, because this is where Mercury has traveled a section in its orbit, but then the retrograde period makes it go back. And so anything that happened in that period of time may need to be revisited, and or we may have to deal with any of the consequences later on. The second period, which is Mercury retrograde itself. Now this is when you hear, oh my God, Mercury's retrograde, and people freaking out for this 3-week period. This is where in the orbit, it looks like Mercury's going backward. So we almost repeat certain things that are happening, or things come up. It's like Mercury was walking forward in his orbit, and then he's like, oh wait, I forgot something. So it turns around to go back and then gets it. And then you sort of have to move forward again with that in your hands. This is where the miscommunication often happens. This is where the effects of the miscommunication happens. Finally, the third aspect is that aspect where you sort of got to tie up any loose ends of things that you may or may not have finished in the Mercury retrograde period. And that period usually lasts about another 15 days. As a whole, we see the effects of Mercury lasting about 55 days, and this happens 3 times a year. I know, it doesn't sound very exciting, but there is so much that we can do to help us get through this, being stronger, and with valuable lessons that we've learned as we go through that. Now, the effects of Mercury retrograde happen on 2 levels. There's the intrapersonal level, so the things that happen to us and how we think about ourselves and how we experience the whole thing, and also how we respond. And then there's the interpersonal aspect of Mercury retrograde, where it's our interactions with other people. And we don't really have a say in what they're doing, but we definitely have a say in how we respond. So again, this is why it's a time to really ground, center, come into times of stillness, and be intentional. Now, what happens with Mercury retrograde, some things from the past will come up, and then we have to do the work around them. So especially with the mind, we might start to have ideas around our worth and about how we see the world around us, how we perceive certain relationships or certain aspects of ourselves or certain areas in our life. With it being a little bit wobbly, we might start to get restless and make impulsive decisions that aren't always for the greater good because we're not coming from a place of centeredness. Our meditation practice is absolutely important during this time, because if you're not intentional with your energy, your energetic output, your perceptions, and the way you show up, your experience is at the hands of what's happening. So what do? Meditation is key. And that's why I created the Mercury Retrograde Meditation Program. The program includes daily meditations for Mercury retrograde period. And as a bonus, I've also thrown in daily meditations for the pre-retrograde and the post-retrograde. These particular meditations are only 5 minutes long. You definitely can invest 5 minutes in your day to ground yourself, to ensure that the rest of your day is peaceful, calm, and if there is a hiccup, you'll be able to navigate it with ease. The program also includes a video that describes a little bit more about Mercury retrograde and different things that you can do to stay grounded during Mercury retrograde beyond your meditations, because it's not just about meditating, it's about how we show up in the world and how we interact with others. The program also includes my higher self journaling technique that I share with all of my coaching clients and everyone that has taken my 40 Days of Stillness meditation program. This higher self journaling technique will help you be intentional with your day. You'll also have access to the Living Spiritfully Collective Facebook group, where I'll share more insight, jump in to do live meditations, and you'll be surrounded by a community of heart-centered people that are in the experience with you. I'm so excited to share and offer this program with people because I've been observing Mercury retrograde for nearly 2 decades, and I've picked up over the years different ways to help me get through it. And that's what I'm doing in this program, is sharing all of that with you. This program has been a decade in the making, and it is everything that I've found to be most helpful for me during Mercury retrograde, and I can't wait to share this with you. For more information, check out the link in this video or go to experience.paulgalloro.com and look for the Mercury retrograde program.